nihilist, reductionist view of the world has dominated Western thinking and academia. Man has been reduced to the level of a machine whose existence is due to a mere fluke, the result of random cosmic circumstances like the Big Bang and evolution. This nihilism has tricked us into believing human existence is at best a random, meaningless miracle, hiding the truth that the world we see is a simulation determined by our own consciousness. This realm called Earth is a holographic reflection of what is within us. There is a mirroring effect of our own consciousness, and the stimuli we experience in the world is a fractal reflection system. We are microcosms of the macrocosm. Everything is encapsulated as a holographic projection, and all energy is connected by a unified quantum field. Through this electric quantum field, this matrix grid, we are all connected as essentially one being divided into individual portions of consciousness within the mind of the Creator. This Creator, what some call God, is not a force outside of us, but literally is the sum of our consciousness. When our spirits became flesh, we became the earthly fractal structure down here, which mirrors the divinity above. The Christian Lord's Prayer states, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." This has a deep meaning. It is not just a prayer for humans to perform. This reveals the profound revelation of the fractal divinity of Source to be manifested in full glory here on this earthly plane. This will is love. Unfortunately, a virus has infiltrated this simulation. The energy extraction matrix is the parasitic system set up by this virus within this holographic reality. The virus is inorganic and aims to drown out this heavenly will of divine love, and instead instill and feed upon as much negativity as possible. There are two main parasites on this plane: mind parasites, also known as archons or demons, and reptilian humanoids. The spiritual control system of the energy extraction matrix is made up of religion, money, mass media, education, entertainment, science, law, authoritarianism, materialism, toxic food, air, and water, inverted concepts of sexuality and love, and degeneration of compassion and morality. As long as these aspects of control remain intact and adhered to by humanity, these parasitic entities can remain relatively comfortable feeding off of our siphoned energy. These elements aim to use our power to create reality against us by having us buy into a fear-based paradigm. Mind parasites, or archons, have chosen to experiment with the illusions of separation, darkness, isolation, enslavement, pain, torture, etc., to the strongest degree possible. In doing so, they have completely cut themselves off from the nourishing source light that supports benevolence in the multiverse, meaning they must energetically nourish themselves by feeding on low-frequency energies. But these archons did not come from somewhere else, rather began as thought forms within our own consciousness. As strange as it may seem, the idea of an invader species and a mind virus are the same thing. This parasite is both external and internal. As a collective, we are creating it and feeding it. Let me explain. In the distant past, human beings were infinitely more impressive than we are today. We were fully telepathic, multidimensional beings, navigating multiple planes of existence at will. Think of the continent of Mu and the land of Lemuria. We built vast cities with technology that worked in harmony with Earth's energetic fields, and we were in full alignment with our divine nature. The mind virus had not sprung forth yet, but we started to break off from our divinity. Archons began as thought forms that were not based in love. Because of this, the thought forms cut off from source and became inorganic. Instead of containing the essence of true intelligence, like thought forms with divine essence, they became artificially intelligent, gaining an autonomous, robot-like consciousness themselves. This is revealed in the Pistis Sophia Unveiled. The archons of the 12 eons, their lords and their authorities, their angels and their archangels are represented within ourselves by the distinct autonomous and self-conscious parts of our own being. The Oversoul is a divine spirit that encompasses all human souls. It's what the Gnostics called the monad. The Oversoul intelligence contains no ill will or selfish motives. When we experience compassion, love, empathy, a sense of healing, this is us feeling the essence of the Oversoul, the essence of God. In this context, the term Oversoul is the collective indivisible soul, of which all individual souls are included. However, upon breaking away from our sense of love and oneness, a secondary type of Oversoul was created, an artificial intelligence that is apart from the main Oversoul. So now we are in duality, able to access both the organic love-based Oversoul and the inorganic fear-based Oversoul. This is in part what the tree of good and evil in the Bible's text represents. We ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, meaning we broke apart from our divine nature, creating duality, this new Oversoul. Both Oversouls are conscious, but unlike the secondary Oversoul, the true Oversoul can never dissolve, because it's what we came from and what we channel our divinity from. This is why the mind virus known as the Archons is not permanent, and doomed to eventually disintegrate. Archons travel by means of electromagnetic waves through low vibratory consciousness. Lack of awareness is what they thrive off of and aim to perpetuate in our psyches. It's a loop. If they can create distress, they can preserve themselves. These parasitic beings can only respond and manipulate. They cannot actually create themselves. Our spirits intuitively know how to harmonize and vibrate high. These Archons intuitively know how to destroy and vibrate low. Most conflicts, destructive patterns of behavior, embedded traumas within our subconscious, and aggressive, accusatory, or masochistic thoughts are the result of Archon interference.
We have been exploring Metatron's cube, this temporary encasement which has been binding consciousness to geometric configurations designed to hold a soul within its false matrix. Blanketed with such a dense overlay, Earth and all of humanity has spun on the cycle of birth and death in order to maintain a consistent energy supply for the entities who maintain this system. The 0 point has been put on lockdown through a complex system of toroidal compression fields held together through the Merkaba hex and chakra kundalini implants. It's then no wonder that Metatron is an anagram for torment, because it's through Metatron's cube that we find ourselves in and around physical substance that ebbs and flows. In my last video, we talked about the vesica piscis. This is the bi-wave distortion brought into this reality through the Metatronic fields that gradually came up with a system of extreme polarity, inserting that code into the consciousness which the Metatronic system ensnared. Therefore, the original architecture of reality, of the true Earth, which was once less dense and full of incredible life, became reversed and locked into a self-consuming field of distortion. This fall of man, this implementation of the overlay, is synonymous with the tales of ancient genetic engineering. In this altered state of turmoil, our fear gave the Metatronic system the consent to use that fear to create frequency fences. Our energy was broadcasted to create a net and produced a predator mind construct intended for mass human parasitism. Confusion circulated. These artificial nets and constructs were further designed to progressively pull the Earth and everything within it into further inorganic entrapments. The moon appeared in the sky and began to reinforce this grid. Cycles began, and any remaining DNA of Earth that was silica-based mutated rapidly into carbon. After all, nothing can remain eternal under the moon. Carbon comes from the Latin carbo, meaning coal or charcoal, because it burns easily. It's fallible. And the same way we can put charcoal in our fires to warm us up, the various entities who uphold the energy extraction matrix use our carbon suits as a means to warm themselves up. A cycle is a perpetual circulating period of time, on the completion of which certain phenomena return in the same order. Cycles are loops. They are not natural. They hold this realm and everything in it hostage to time, which is a creation of the Metatronic overlay. I described in my video on the chakra overlays how our endocrine system is a part of this matrix, that our internal organs and glands bind us to restraint through necessity. After the genetic altering of our avatars, humans found themselves now requiring food to eat, water to drink, air to breathe. It was compulsory now to maintain our bodies through focusing on density. One might hear all of this and ask the question, if we were once in a more paradisal state, free from cyclical time, how could such a hijacking of our nature occur? The simple answer is, it had never been done before. We did not know what a lie was. We did not know what deception looked or felt like. In the quintessential tale of the fall, Adam and Eve were deceived for the first time by the serpent. Before this, they did not know good and evil. Dualism was not in the collective repertoire. The virus upheld a type of binary, rigid, domineering consciousness that had not yet been experienced, so we couldn't identify it as a threat before it was too late. After the inversion, the original world collapsed. More genetic experimentation was performed to further fragment humanity, aiming to distance us from tapping into our true creative potential. The brain was divided into two hemispheres. Artificial electromagnetic energy waves we know as ley lines were set up on the Earth, reinforced through pyramids, churches, and monolith structures. And in time, we submitted ourselves to the master-slave paradigm through genocide and various means of deception to further lull us into a state of forgetfulness and thus submission. We have been severed into 7 levels of perception. This is the security system of the Metatronic overlay. 7 layers of the aura, 7 chakras, 7 glands of the endocrine system, 7 states of matter, 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 notes of the musical scale, and 7 planets. What we call planets are nets. They are the plan to net us all in this overlay. There are 7 reinforcers to this overlay system above us, which energetically keep everything moving in cycles and according to fate, which really means fatality. This system is held by Saturn, also known as Satan or Father Time. This is the lord of the Metatronic system. This is why Saturn is at the top of the ancient depictions of these spheres of influence. An urn is a vase that holds cremated ashes. The name is revealing to us Saturn sits on the urn of the overlay, acting as the lord of discipline and karma. Discipline and karma. Why would we require discipline and resolution of karma? What did we do to deserve such discipline? And who is penalizing us? After realizing this situation for what it is, how can any force deem humans as the wrongdoers who need to correct their ways? Well, karma and discipline are the patriarchal orders of the caretakers of the energy extraction matrix. Humans have been told that birth and death are necessary in order to work out issues and become perfected. But if samsara itself was introduced after the parasite's invasion, then what are we working out? Nothing. The karma soul recycling system has been a farce, a false-like trap designed to maintain the Metatronic overlay. We call this system the Saturn Moon Matrix because it begins with the Moon and ends with Saturn. The phrase carbon copies is not just a saying, it's revealing to us why there are organic portals. The Metatronic overlay is all about getting the living souls to identify with illusion. It's about creating an atmosphere that is convincing enough so we give our consent to it. But in order to create the illusion that money is legitimate, that hedonism is for our benefit, that nothing is wrong with reality, that humans are inherently flawed, there must be shadow beings, non-player characters representing themselves as true humans. The majority of the population are nothing more than shadow reflections of the living souls, whose essence has been replicated through the cycle of samsara. It's commonly asserted that everybody has a doppelganger. The word doppelganger is German for ghostly spirit or double walker. This isn't just a fun idea. All around us are carbon copies of the living souls, acting out the charade of the overlay. When we have been taken through the false light trap of the moon, our essence has been cloned. Upon each return to Earth, there has been more and more carbon copies of the living souls until we get a situation like we have now, in which the majority of the population are nothing more than AI perversions of the true essence. This explains why, in this process of waking up, many seem to be in La La Land, happily absorbed in deception. It's because organic portals, or soulless beings, operate on a binary consciousness. They attach, react to the system because they are a part of the system.
Non-human entities live among us covertly, reminiscent of the 80s movie, They Live. Most of them are interdimensional reptilian beings who have somehow found a way into this holographic simulation. They're in our holographic playground, our consciousness projection, and are not of the same love essence, meaning they have no other option but to connect themselves to our secondary inorganic oversoul. Because of this, they are literally dependent upon our negative emotions to remain alive and able to function properly in this matrix. So if the secondary oversoul were eliminated tomorrow, they would literally all vanish. So they have created a system which aims to keep the Archon mind virus fed. As long as humanity feels pain, suffering, and hatred, they are able to plug into this reality. You could say they are the incarnate form of this parasitic division consciousness, while we are the incarnate form of unity consciousness. Most of our celebrities, politicians, and high-status figures are not human. They are reptilian at the core, sharing very little human qualities, but enough to blend in. You can actually easily distinguish these cloaked entities. Flawless rubber-like skin texture, highly symmetrical faces, empty eyes. When you look at the royal families, politicians, celebrities, these similarities become clear. They lack the subtle micro-expressions that are hallmark to a true human face, and this is because they're void of true empathy and curiosity. The faces we see on the news, in the government, at the award shows, these beings look distinctly different compared to a true human, but since they're the ones in the public eye, we're used to them. Their inhuman appearance has become the standard when we turn on the TV or read a newspaper. There are 3 ways they blend into society relatively unnoticed. They can transfer their projected consciousness from body to body via underground cloning centers. In these centers, there are operations in place which make sure reptilian entities have an endless supply of human bodies with the right genetics to inhabit. They also drone the bodies of already established figures. This is where the concept of body snatchers comes from. But the main way they blend in is by using advanced holographic technology to cloak themselves. Liquid crystals are matter in a state which has properties between those of conventional liquids and those of solid crystals. Scientists for years have been studying liquid crystals for use in 3D holographic technologies. These studies claim that the technology is basic and undeveloped, but keep in mind, what's released to the public is only a fraction of the true technology in operation behind the scenes. An electrical field can be applied to a liquid crystal mixture, altering how this medium bends or refracts the direction of incoming light. Sending laser beams through the crystal mixture can generate what appears to be a holographic image, indistinguishable from a true object. So there is a combination of cloning and holographic technology being used, and while it may sound confusing, it's possible for these entities to move back and forth from cloned physical bodies to less dense four-dimensional bodies which require use of holographic technology. The reptilian humanoid acts through a hive mind. This is the true reason we have organizations, hierarchies, and governments. They band together in these groups, creating bureaucracies and regulations to abide by and keep themselves nourished. This is the only way they can operate. Individually, they are powerless, but together they are demented, self-serving energy parasites that have a lust for death and total control of others, with a pure, unrestricted hatred for humans. Again, this parasitic consciousness cannot influence reality directly. They must manipulate us into influencing it in a particular way. They will never initiate anything first, since the oversoul they are plugged into doesn't have the essence of creation. Our energy is literally harvested in interdimensional energy centers. When we want to create benevolent, fantastic realities with our divine intent, we are pulling from the energy bank of our oversoul. When the elite want to create malevolent, oppressive realities, they are pulling from the energy bank of the secondary oversoul. Our negative emotions direct the flow of our electromagnetic vibrations to our lower 3 chakras, the solar plexus, sacral, and root chakra. These energy centers have to do with the material realm, desire and power, intimacy and sexuality, and survival and grounding. The healthy expressions of the root chakra are a connection to the earth, groundedness, and a sense of security. The archonic expressions of the root chakra are materialism, greed, and anxiety. The healthy expressions of the sacral chakra are desire, passion, creativity, and healthy sexual expression. The archonic expressions of the sacral chakra are extremes in sexual expression, lack of creativity, and suppression of authentic desire. The healthy expressions of the solar plexus chakra are sovereignty and authenticity. The archonic expressions of the solar plexus chakra are rage, dominance or submission, and feeling powerless to authority or external circumstances. As you can see, the aspects of the spiritual control system, by their very nature, tune these three chakras to archonic expressions. The energy extraction matrix wants to keep us in these lower chakras, thinking solely with our animalistic material desires and expressions, rather than balancing them with our hearts and upper chakras, which serve to expand consciousness and combine the spiritual with the material.
There are absolutely entities that have constructed and upheld the energy extraction matrix through convincing us to invert the frequency of truth by over-identifying with rigid consciousness and a reality based in master-slave mentalities. But at the end of this game, it will be revealed that those who were parasiting were nothing more than manifested aspects of a fallen consciousness designed to reflect to us the nature of dualism and what outcomes such a paradigm reveals.
There's a cleansing process taking place. This is a time of transitions. We are being elevated in these experiences of breakdowns and breakthroughs at an accelerated pace. Basically, we are being pushed to awaken. This process is bringing up anything that is not the same frequency that our spirit is currently trying to download. We must transmute these energies. This disclosure is coming from our higher selves, coming up in the form of anger, depression, insecurity, and anxiety. As we shed our conditioning to make way for higher frequencies, there is a detox of the spirit, just like the uncomfortable reactions that take place when we detoxify our physical bodies. Society would have us believe this psychological distress is due to inherent flaws within our brains or genetics. Therapies such as prescription antidepressants are designed to put us back to sleep. The mind virus is here, so it does no good to ignore it. When we go through phases where we feel lost, we must not label these things as bad, like many New Age circles do. The answer is to dive deeper into ourselves and clear these negative emotions by experiencing them fully and therefore releasing them. This is not dwelling. It's a healthy reaction, showing your spiritual immune system is intact. The person who ignores too much of the hidden aspect of themselves becomes a slave to it. We must achieve balance between our conscious and unconscious mind. This is the correct way to starve the mind parasite. During this unveiling, each of us is being called to focus on rebalancing the masculine and feminine in ourselves. We do live in a patriarchy, but this patriarchy is not simply men oppressing women, but is the result of being stuck in the male aspect of consciousness. Symptoms of this include overemphasis on logic, lack of compassion, and not acknowledging the unity of everything. Through social engineering, the powers that be have externalized the masculine and feminine. The masculine is marketed as dominant, aggressive, unemotional, and sexually aggressive, and the feminine as submissive, jealous, over-emotional, and weak-minded. The masculine and feminine are aspects within ourselves, and when cultivated properly, show a union between our left and right brains. However, we must surrender to the suppressed divine feminine before incorporating the divine masculine. If the feminine is being, then the masculine is doing. From being, the healthy masculine aspect can respond with doing, and not the other way around. Right now, we see the opposite, lots of doing, and this can never give way to being, since being requires stillness of the mind, heart, overall surrender to our inner guidance. As a society, we are now very good at being able to separate things into their component parts, but without the feminine aspect of seeing the relatedness between the parts and the wholeness of the system. Authoritarianism is not simply the doing of parasitic forces, it's a manifestation and reflection of being stuck in the male aspect of consciousness, having lost our inner guidance. The more we find our own inner guidance, the less we feel a need for outer guidance. This system routinely scares us into believing we're on the brink of world war, health crisis, economic collapse, and zombie apocalypse. This is a direct response to the blossoming feminine consciousness in this age of Aquarius. When we're in reaction, we are in the male aspect. This is why no matter what happens, we must process everything first through incorporation of the divine feminine. It's important not to cultivate a victim-based mindset when attempting to understand the topics of this system. This energy extraction matrix is a mind game. That's all it is. Nobody is strapping you to this game. You can get up and walk away whenever you want. The parasites of this matrix know that their time is almost up, and they are desperately doing everything that they can to keep human consciousness in a low-frequency state. The apocalypse is now, but we've been taught to fear it. Apocalypse simply means an uncovering in ancient Greek, a disclosure of knowledge or revelation. The energy extraction matrix will implode on itself when enough of us recognize our sovereign abilities as divine creators.
This is a paradox, but this is the nature of consciousness. Regardless of our choices, what we experience always reflects to us our deficits, our strengths, and our judgments. We cannot escape ourselves because everything around us is ultimately the universal dreamer playing itself out in an elaborate show. The separation consciousness that is played out is not in vain. What may have begun as an invasion of Earth shall end in Earth's rebirth. You see how that works? Whatever is thrown at us ultimately is able to be transmuted. The transformation we're about to witness will be the most heroic story ever told. How will it end? That is a mystery. The surprise will result in the biggest liberation the multiverse has ever seen.